Alright, so I'm going to continue with part 2 of my Dark Souls walkthrough. This is kind of a compilation, almost a collection of just a bunch of different footage, I guess you could say, put together because I didn't feel like having it in two huge chunks, so a lot of times they're, 5, maybe 10 minutes long, and they're all as seamlessly put together as I can manage. So here is just after finishing up the Taurus team and kicking down that ladder, just heading back through the Berg, up the ladder again to get past the dragon. I'm so grateful, I've got to say, that they Demon Souls climbing a ladder was the worst experience in any video game ever. Remember that one ladder in to go down and get the brushwood set was it took like 10 years. But no. So I don't know why I do this. I saw it somewhere or sometime. I don't remember someone telling me about it, but I guess running against that wall makes him come down faster or something. It's probably a stupid idea, but... So I want to say base vitality, and if not, it's only one higher, and only pants on, and they're not even especially good ones, so... Unless I'm pretty confident that anyone can take one hit of that fire. So here, the dragon, I always run out by the sunlight altar, or the little statue thing. I'm assuming people know the name of it, but anyway, yeah, that gate right there, opening that, allows you to come, if need be, under the bridge with all the rats and whatever else, so that you don't have to deal with the dragon again, but when this bonfire is lit, the dragon doesn't show up. Or when you're resting at it, he's going to fly away, so you don't really have to deal with him for too long. I'd much prefer to keep the fast roll here. So yeah, that's what that's about. Going up here to fight the Black Knight, partly for a tight chunk, partly just because why not? The number of times I've had to go through the kiln to get to Gwyn because I screw up, honestly, especially the, what am I thinking? Sorcerer one I just played through, base level Sorcerer. I died so many times against Gwyn, it was terrible. So between that and just hanging around in the kiln, I never actually done any real PvP there. I don't like the place for that, but no, I've gotten reasonably not awful at parrying Black Knights. So they are one of the easier enemies to parry, because their moves are so distinct. But yeah, at this level, parrying the Greatsword one is kind of a risk. So here, one of those Hollow Soldiers is going to run back once they detect you, once they see you, and so rather than try to risk running through the middle with the boar and the the rest of the crossbow guys and everything else, I prefer to run on top of the stairs. I know that it's possible to get through the middle if if you run just the right way and one of the soldiers is already gone. But no, I prefer to run up on the stairs and jump down, as it's easier and there are less guys in the way. And I never end up freeing Lotric, I then use him, and he gets out after the gargoyles fight anyway. So I don't really see a need to go through the bottom, when the only thing really there is the, what's it called? the mystery key. It's the one to Logic Cell. Not bad. So going through here, Baldur Knights are actually, in my opinion, a lot, I don't want to say overpowered, but they're significantly more dangerous than anything else you'll find at this point in the game. One, because they're smart enough to parry and backstab you, and also because they do significantly more damage even on regular attacks. So what I'm doing here is walking up slowly, and, you know, it's, if you walk like this, then you don't make the amount of sound that will trigger him, so you can get right up behind him to get in that backstab. It's not, you know, necessary to backstab him, but with an unupgraded weapon, as I have right now, it's kind of helpful. So here I'm just trying to get to Andre, or his bonfire, it's called the Undead Parish bonfire, so you can walk to it. Yeah, so heading down here, this is really the first time when you're going to be able to upgrade your weapons. So, well, you could also do it from Vamos, but whatever. This is the first time when you're going to be able to upgrade your weapons, and that means, one, that you're going to be able to do more damage, but also that the game is going to anticipate and expect that, and going to make the enemies compete with that, almost going to make it so that it's still a challenge even with upgraded weapons, meaning they're more difficult. So here I figured just screw it, I don't feel like running with them, I don't want to fight them, so of course, you know, I'm getting all cocky here, fighting this guy. I'm like, oh, I can parry him, not a problem. And I seem to neglect that the Hollow Soldiers are taking note of my presence, I guess you could say. So, further highlighting that there's no friendly fire, and he just clubbed the three of them. It's beyond anything. Yeah, so running back here, I am making careful note to definitely get those three before I fight the big guy. What's he called? A Baronique Knight or something? Yeah. It's funny. Fighting with an unupgraded weapon, it feels like such a toy almost, you know, it's like when a heavy attack does 60 damage, that's just not good. So going ahead to fight this heavy knight, one of the things about him, his attacks don't do as much stamina damage to a block, or guard break, or whatever, as I would expect. You can easily dodge those vertical attacks, but horizontal ones you should probably watch out for. I prefer to just parry him because honestly I kind of like it, but no, I have zero idea why I got a great axe for him, because I note a lack of great axe that he was carrying. So here, Undead Parish is, once you get to this elevator, is the first time you can return to this island. Yeah, that's not for showing off any kind of levels, that's just me checking my equip waves here, trying to get a feel for how much I can carry, because the main purpose of me going here is, one, for the Rusted Iron Ring, which is why you need to go over here and get this key first, to the second floor west gate, and that is to the end that past the door where you first jump down to the Asylum Demon, there was one guy guarding a room, but now there's going to be a sword guy and a spear guy, and open the door with that key, and you get the Rusted Iron Ring, which allows you to walk through that tar-looking stuff at the bottom of Sun's Fortress. It lets you walk through the water, the Hydra. It lets you Playtown Swamp, of course. So it's just anything that's, what do they call it? Poor footing. So, yeah. Going back to the asylum, I don't know at what point exactly you're intended to come back here, because these enemies are unarmored and still have, I believe, more health and defense than the armored hollow soldiers by the gargoyles. I am absolutely terrified of these torch guys. I'm more scared of them than almost any other enemy in this game. I remember when I got onto my first plus, I was in the depths, and there was that one guy outside the bonfire room, and I think I was using black leather +9 armor set for the most part, and he one-shotted me, and I had absolutely just blown away. I was like, how did he do this? He just shook a torch at me, and I got hit like 9 times, so that was, yeah, their one hits won't do enormous damage. Yeah, I wish I had checked how much health I have here, but yeah, I should have been dead. But that's alright. Yeah, like I said, their one hits won't do enormous damage, but they can, where they just kind of charge at you and sprint at you with the torch, or they just shake it at you and it counts as a bunch of hits, which I feel like a torch should never, ever, ever, ever do more than, say, a centipede demon or something, but it does, because getting crushed into the ground by a giant fire monster is less damaging than a little bit of, it's beyond me, it really is. So here, I level up just to get rid of some souls in case I die, but then I'm just like, well, I can still do one more level, and so I get up to 20 endurance, because the katana, though it is a dexterity weapon and many are very light, it weighs 5, which I think is absolutely fair considering its range. I might have wanted to upgrade it even a little bit first before fighting what's his name, Oscar? Yeah. But no, it's fine. He doesn't do the amount of damage I think he should, because usually the enemies with decent AI, the ones that aren't extremely predictable, are, you know, meant to be more substantial benchmark challenges. But I think he was more just kind of a afterthought on explaining how to give you the Crest Shield. Okay, here's the second Vagrant, whatever, I have ever seen. The first one I was farming Dark Wraiths in New Londo, and I killed that one because it was shooting some kind of like soul arrow thing at me, and these giant crab pincers. I don't know. This one I think I forgot about, honestly, but where it got away, I don't know. But it only gave me 1 humanity or something, and I thought they were supposed to be, you know, very valuable to find, but not according to what I've seen, so. I can't remember if I have the Hornet Ring at this point, but I'm pretty sure I do. I don't know what I was thinking. Seeing as I'm doing almost exclusively parries on him. Yeah, I take a number of hits here. One of the things I never actually got is, say you have a shield that blocks only, you know, 90% of damage or something. And it only lets, you know, less than 10 through, and you know you're doing more than 100 damage with a hit. Okay, I promise I don't actually do these little emotes on my own. This is still me debating if I'm going to do a commentary or not. And, I don't know, I figured that would be explanation for that. But, it's almost like these, you know, shields and things have much greater damage reduction. I don't know if that has anything to do with deflection or what, but he blocks with his sword and I'm only hitting 7 through it. And I was hitting 45 anyway, so that's like, what, 80 or so % damage reduction from a longsword, or a straight sword, based on the fact that it was cutting through 100 physical shield. Yeah, I don't know. But, so these two guys are intended to be harder than when you first came here, obviously, because if you've already gotten to the parish, which you need to get here, then you should be more prepared. I'm not going to fight the Black Knights at this point because I really just don't have... I could, but it'd probably take me a couple tries, and I don't really feel like doing it with an unupgraded weapon, because as you've seen, it takes at least 6 or 7 successful parries. And I'm almost entirely sure that these Black Knights are harder than the ones in the Berg Parish area. Kind of like the ones in the Kiln are immensely tougher than that one in the Berg guarding the Blue Tears turn ring, which I think is a very useless ring, because if you're going to be that low, you're going to die in one hit anyway. Unless it negates some kind of... Unless it negated, like, or, you know, lessen power within or something like that, which might be kind of a... I mean, not worth a ring slot now, but... I don't know. If it negates poison or power within or something, a damage over time at that low health, then it might make a hyper mode last longer and be less risky for each second you're using it. So, coming out of here, again playing it pretty cautiously with these torch guys, because that sprint thing is terrifying. That shake right there. He just holds the torch at you. That does, I want to say, 7 or 8 hits probably. So really, the only reason I came back here, reasons were Rusted Iron Ring and the Crest Shield. The Crest Shield having, to my knowledge, the best magic defense, possibly excepting Havel's Shield. Though there is a noticeable 23 weight difference. So that is kind of something to take into consideration. The Crest Shield will kind of trivialize the Moonlight Butterfly fight, and a pattern that I am entirely proud of, I promise. A lot of times, the place where people used to level up, I don't know if still do, in past the Crest of Artorias place in the forest, with all the forest hunters, I know that people used to just run them off the cliff a lot, and I do the same thing to get, once I get the 20,000, which I usually get, that is a combination of Moonlight Butterfly and the Gargoyles, and I use that to buy enough shards to get a weapon or several weapons to +5, because, yeah, so here I died to the Titanite Demon because I was a little overconfident that rolls would actually roll. I got stuck right up against him, and anyway, so I'm not going to fight him at the moment, and just because I want to say it's a +3 or +4 katana right now, but these tree guys, they're not my favorite, but one, because all you can really do is block, and I don't their arms are kind of inconsistent in the exact moment they hit. So it's difficult to dodge them, so it just kind of means you have to block them. And I don't know, I feel like when I first started playing the game I just blocked everything. Now I kind of... See, like, I don't know how to dodge that. I don't know, it's probably really obvious to everyone else. At least from a distance, because it moves side to side, but if you're close to them it isn't terribly difficult. So, like I said, Moonlight Butterfly, but also because the only ring I have now is Rusted Iron, and I do want another one, namely the Wolf Ring. So here's a hidden bonfire that I had actually never seen on camera before. I know now that everybody knows about it, but no, I just kind of rolled into walls and I saw around the side that there's... Okay, never go in that room. That item is actually a trap, and it makes 4 of the tree guys and whatever come out of the ground. So what the bad part of it is that it doesn't require you ever even go into that room again. So that little hallway is permanently going to have those 4 guys in it. So I don't think that any 200 to 400 souls will ever be worth kind of ramping up completely the difficulty of that area. Okay, these guys, I want to call them frog rays, I think they're called. They're frogs, and I don't know, manta ray like bodies. They can drop green blossoms, which any serious or thinks he's serious PvP guy will probably use before a fight. Makes your stamina regeneration go up a lot faster. Or regenerations more... whatever. Stamina regenerates faster. I don't use them generally because... I don't know. I just don't. I don't really use consumables in a fight, except when I was doing my low level invading, my level 1s and things, and throwing poison knives. Because the only weapons I could really use on my level 1 were the club and the reinforced club, and honestly I don't like fighting with them too much, so... But... So now I have the Wolf Ring, which gives you 40 poise, and I don't know if I've explained poise before. I assume that you know what it is by now if you've gotten this far. But essentially it's your resistance to being staggered. When you get hit by an attack, it's either you're going to poise through it, which means you will not flinch, or you're going to get kinda stunned, and in that time you take 1 more damage from attacks that hit you, 2 you can't do anything, including blocking and moving. And okay, down here if you're in human form you clear out that bush and Witch Beatrice comes to the fight. If you do not have any ranged attacks, like this guy here, she is very good for the fight, seeing as you don't have to wait for the longest time to actually do any damage to it. But her AI is miserable, and she hits that fog gate arch thing half the time, and she misses constantly. So I didn't really feel like dying at this point. I figured it'd be better to just block things and take the 20 cut of the damage than risk getting hit by something if I screwed up. Which, looking at it, it's doing about 10 to 20% of my health. Okay, the reason I'm backing up here like that from the butterfly, when it goes over, sometimes it does, I want to call it a bombing attack, but it's like it drops a giant magic explosion on the bridge, walkway, whatever, and I'm not the best at predicting it until it actually happens, so I do tend to just run away every time, and it's not like I'm missing out on anything because I don't get any actual chance. Okay, here Gold pine resin, again. I don't know if it's weak to gold pine resin, maybe lightning damage or what, but... Okay, when it lands, it does like a little puff thing. I've never actually been hit by it, I don't know. I don't know exactly how much damage it does, but I imagine it's a lot, because it's the most obvious thing that it's doing, and it gives you plenty of time to get away, and it has very little range. So this, I thought I could dodge out of the way of it, but I'm clearly not the best judge of this. So, coming through here. Okay, this is... I thought that was a dud. It hardly exploded, and I didn't know what to do about that. And so here, that's what I've been watching out for the whole time when I run away from it. Which, again, is not necessarily a bad thing, running away, because if you're a melee-only character, then you're not missing out on anything unless it actually lands in that time. But if it's landed, it can't attack, so here, just two-handed. I was two-handing it before, though I'm not sure which does more, my actual sword or the buff at this point. Something to keep in mind, as far as purely just in the interest of stamina and usually hit speed with smaller weapons. If the buff is doing more damage than the weapon itself, then you're probably going to want to one-hand it if possible, you know, if you're talking about daggers, short swords, things like that. Because, one, that'll be more efficient for stamina, two, it's usually faster, and if the buff is doing more than the actual attack, then that's just going to be a greater number of buffed hits, because, as I've said before, each buffed hit does the full damage of the buff. Okay, not leveling up here because because, again, we're trying to get the 20,000 in order to buy the Crest of our Taurus from Andre, which you can get from killing Andre, but if you intend to upgrade anything that does not solely just use Twinkling Titanite, I really don't recommend, because it eliminates the possibility of lightning weapons and plus 15 weapons in raw, but I've never actually used raw because it's not good, in my opinion. It's better for low-level players, but I figure if you're low enough level that you would want to use that, then you would just use elemental. But if you're doing some kind of, you know, challenge run where you can only use, where you're not allowed to use elemental weapons, then raw would probably be the way to go. So, coming back here, my next goal is to take on the gargoyles for the additional 10,000 souls. I was playing with someone recently who has the game before all the patches, and you only got, I want to say 1,500 or 2,500 souls for the gargoyles, and about the same amount for the butterfly, so that's kind of discouraging. But, yeah. So, yes, smith box, armor, and weapons are good, but I always buy the repair box first, just because, like I said, I have a compulsion to repair things whenever I get back to the bonfire.
Don't get you.